Hello everyone, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Portugal and to Ferrari Challengers. The next round of our 2023 season is about to get underway here at the Circuito Estoril. We are about 25 minutes thereabouts from Lisbon Central, and this is where this circuit is situated, and what a circuit it is as well. It will test our challenge drivers. Of that, make no mistake. We've had our qualifying sessions and the grid has been set. So Coppa Shell drivers are the first to take to the grid today for their 30-minute race, one of two. Across this weekend, a mix of Shell and Shell Am drivers that will take to this track and enjoy every moment of it. I am sure who will be victorious at the end of it. Well, around about 35 minutes time, of course, we will find out. This is precisely where we are then. What a beautiful city Lisbon really is. So a little snapshot of the surrounding area then, and a wonderful drone shot of our grid as it is assembling. So here we are then, round 5 of our 7-round calendar, then Estoril, with only Spa-Francorchamps and the World Finals Finale Mondiale in Mugello to come. Please follow us on at Ferrari Races, be part of the Ferrari family, and enjoy everything that Ferrari has to offer for a motor racing enthusiast. This is precisely where we are then in Estoril, and to our knowledge, the first time the Ferrari Challenge has been to this particular circuit in Portugal, and thus far we're having a jolly good time, thank you very much. And weather conditions absolutely perfect for racing. The air temperature is a really gorgeous 23 degrees. You could fry an egg on the track though. It's 47 degrees and just a little bit of wind around, gusting at 3 kilometers per hour. That is all. So that's the way the situation looks here in Estoril at the moment. Down there enjoying the heat is Ludovica. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to Portugal, to Estoril circuit for the 5th round of Ferrari Challenge Europe. We are now in the thick of the season because the competition between the drivers is getting tougher, especially after the round of Le Mans, which saw new forces on the track that animate the standings. Everything is ready for the race 1 of Coppa Shell. As you can see, all the drivers and the teams are settled up on the grid, but now I want to concentrate with the team of Paolo Scudieri. We are in the middle of the grid because in this morning Paolo Scudieri made a good and special qualifying session. We are in the grid of the Coppa Shell Trophy, and I'm here with Stefano Gai, Paolo Scudieri's coach. Stefano, before asking you something about the tire management and the strategy for this race, in this morning I saw you talking very closely with your driver, Paolo. What are you saying?
It's a secret, I cannot tell you, otherwise the other guys can improve. No, I'm joking. We are speaking about the quali because he did a really good job. We improved a lot during this weekend, and he has an amazing pace now. And I want to see the first corner, but after that I'm quite confident for Paolo's pace because he's really fast, and usually he did an amazing start also in Valencia where he passed two or three cars. So I'm very curious to see the first corner, and after that I'm quite confident to the result, I hope.
And Stefano, can you tell us more about the strategy and the tire management for the race of today?
This track is very aggressive on the tire, especially the left tire, because there is a many corners that turn on the right, and so some drivers decide to split the tire from the right to the left, but we keep the same tires, and they suggest to some drivers that if they are driving alone to increase a little bit the traction control to save also the rear tires, but At the beginning we have to push to find a good gap, because in this kind of race usually there is also some safety cars, so we have to push a lot at the beginning to find a good position, and after we try to manage all the race.
Thank you, Stefano. Back to you guys.
Always great to talk to Stefano Guy, who of course is well known and hugely successful in the Ferrari Challenge and lots of other GT racing categories as well, just proving that visibility in the Ferrari Challenge can really propel your racing career, as has been the case with so many drivers, and Stefano Guy is one of them now, looking after Paolo Scudieri, who indeed did finish P3 within his class, which is Shell Am. Of course, Paolo has been on the top step of the podium this year, winning in race 1 in Valencia. Let's go back to Ludovica.
Yes, because continue our journey on the grid. In this morning, during the qualifying session, the fastest drivers was Axel starting, and in this moment, Axel is leading the standings of Coppa Shell. He took the pole in 1:30.2. He was very, very fast, and this is an important qualification for his championship.
Thank you so much. Yes, Axel Sardigan doing a very, very good job. So here is our track presentation then. As I mentioned, it's 4.182 kilometers, and as Stefano Guy was saying, it's quite aggressive on the tyres. You see Sector 3 there. Sector 1 and Sector 2, for whatever reason, disappeared. But there are 13 turns, 4 of them are left, 9 of them are right-handers, which is why certain tyres get more pressure, forgive the pun, than other tyres, and therefore, as Stefano revealed, Nico, alongside me here, some drivers choosing to swap tyres from left to right and right to left, just to even out the wear across the qualifying and also the races. So we'll speak about that in just a moment's time with Nico Spalek with me this afternoon.
Actually, when I arrive, I try and stay calm. But I feel quite excited that I'm getting back into the car again. Depends on the circuit, and then the feeling, I think, is more, excitement, and actually feeling that I want to, be fast for the weekend. But it's a great privilege to get back in the car. What represents is that you're part of something that is actually quite unique, and you get a lot of privileges being part of Ferrari family. As well as the cars, and obviously the race weekends are very well looked after. We have a good hospitality.
Well, it brings back memories from 30 years ago when I first started, and it's funny, so many people are still here from 30 years ago, both drivers and administration, like Antonello Coletta, who I've known for 30 years, and many of the drivers I've raced with and against over the last 30 years, whether it was in Challenge or other professions, but always in a Ferrari.
The Challenge in Europe is a lot different circuits than North America, and so I find it very challenging. The competition here is very tough and very hard to be doing good. So it's a great pleasure to try so hard with Ferrari and really do a good job. I'm really excited about being part of that family and all the racing that we do.
Ferrari Challenge è uno stato vitale ed è uno stato passionale. Non solo macchina italiana, ma una macchina italiana che ha con sé un cavallino, una rampante, che è segno distintivo di un mondo sportivo e di uno standing internazionale unico. Come ritrovarsi in una grande famiglia che ha un solo inno nel cuore, Forza Ferrari.
Well, hearing from some of the drivers there, I should say a big welcome back to the Ferrari Challenge for Stephen Earle. Great to see him in the car again and competing here in Estoril. So I was saying, Nico, this with 30 seconds to go before the start of the race, tyres and tyre longevity is going to be critically important, I would suggest, in this Coppa Shell race.
Yeah, definitely. And some of the drivers were able to manage their tyres already during qualifying session, doing fewer laps and therefore preserving the race pace in the tyres and the longevity. And we will go racing in just a few moments.
Indeed, the indication is the Richard Mille, the safety car, will lead the cars away on their formation lap. That cues us to bring you the grid in full. Axel Sardigan, pole position. Alongside him, good quality from Thomas Gostner. Of Christian Herdwieper could be a danger man from P3 on the grid. He has von Skelterma for company on the second row. Then it's Manuel Agostner and Eric Chung going from P5 and P6. Can't help but feel Manuel is disappointed perhaps with qualifying. Peter Christensen and Thomas Loflader on the fourth row of the grid, P7 and P8. And Alexander Nussbaumer and John Dillon then on the fifth row. They go from P9 and P10 respectively. As we go to row 6 then, we find Corinna Gosner, and then the best of our Coppa Shell AM drivers, Motohiko Isazaki, did a good job ahead of Kirk Beervold and Paolo Scudieri. They go from P13 and P14. To the next row, we find Henrik Hamstrup and Josef Schumacher, a good quality from Josef Schumacher. He goes from the 8th row of the grid, ahead of Tommy Lindroth and Stefano Marazzi, who at one point led the qualifying session earlier on today. To the 10th row, where we find Mutlu Tarzev, and as I mentioned, a welcome return to Stephen Earle. He's going from P20 on the grid with Pino Frascaro, the Coppa Shell AM driver, going from P21. Bear in mind the Shell drivers have got a yellow sun strip across the top of the windscreen. Our Shell AM drivers have a black strip across the top of the windscreen. 2 races in one. Talk about bringing you great value. That's what we do with Ferrari Challenge. Each of them are scored individually, of course, so those cars with the black strips across the top of the windscreen, Shell AM drivers, the yellow ones are the Shell drivers.
Very well explained, but obviously for the likes of Axel Sartingen, who has a clear piece of tarmac ahead of him, at least once the safety car has peeled off. Not so for Motohiko Isozaki. He has to make sure that he keeps his competitors in class behind him, but also he has to make sure that he doesn't clatter into the back of any Shell driver right in front of him. So on pole, but somehow not.
Yes, a very good point, well made, as is so often everything you utter to our delight. Henrik Hamstrup, who we're on board with now, he was satisfied with his qualifying today, and so he should be. Did a very good job qualifying P4 in class. You can see there is quite some undulation to this very tricky Estoril circuit, and hearing from Stefano Guy with Ludo earlier on, Stefano saying there's a high chance of safety cars here, and when you have some 21 Ferrari Challenge cars on the grid as well, the mix of Shell and Shell AM drivers, that's possibly always a potential. So we will see as they're heading into the Parabolica now. They'll be invited to grid up side by side, and then we will be ready to go with our first race of the weekend here in Portugal. We are in Estoril. We are live. This is the Ferrari Challenge. And the lights go out, and a very good start from Manuela Gosner, trying to get ahead of Christian Herdwieper as they head in towards turn number 1. If she can get her nose in front here, she will have the inside line for turn number 1. Oh, but clatters across the gravel, turning Christian Herdwieper around. If he doesn't get collected by a number of other cars, then I'll be amazed. And sure enough, a domino effect of things that went on there, and unfortunately Manuela Gosner caught up right in the middle of that. Yellow flag being shown at turn number 1. I'm convinced that that will turn into probably a safety car as somebody else has gone around. I think that's John Dillon. So John Dillon through turns 2 or 3 has gone around as well. Whilst all that was going on, Axel Sartingen did exactly as Nico told him to, and that is get away right at the start. And I think Motohiko Isozaki got a good start as well. But here you can see 2 stricken cars of Manuela Gosner and Christian Herdwieper right at the start of the race. They're out of the race. Corinna Gosner is chasing down Josef Schumacher. And I'll tell you what, Thomas Gosner is staying here with Axel Sartingen ahead of Eric Chung, who's running P3 as von Skelterma takes a look at Motohiko Isozaki, who I said had a really good start and put himself ahead of von Skelterma and a couple of other drivers as well. So we're staying with a localized yellow at the moment because both of those cars that were turned around, Manuela Gosner and also now commentators curse the safety car has been called for, Nico.
Yeah, and no big surprise. As you said, the cars made it at least out of the immediate danger zone, but there was a lot of debris obviously as a result of the cars coming together, and I think in terms of preserving the tires and making sure that they don't suffer a puncture due to some debris on the track, the safety car was always inevitable. So what a start, not the one that we necessarily wanted to see, but there is always a danger of something like that happening. And yeah, Christian Herdwieper, I'm sure, dejected as he leaves the car. But it is a narrow track, and sometimes you're caught in a position, especially when it's all so bunched up together, where you really don't have anywhere to go.
Well, as we can see, Christian Herdvipper and Manuel Agostina are both absolutely out of the cars and absolutely fine. I suspect there's a slight disagreement as to what happened there, but that's being discussed as we speak, and unfortunately it does mean the loss in that race of both Christian Herdvipper and Manuel Agostina. Now, Christian Herdvipper, for my money, had done a really good job in qualifying, qualified really well, Nico, and we know that in the race he's got reasonable race pace, so unfortunately any aspirations he had for the race have been turned around. Axel Sardigan, Thomas Gostner, Eric Chung, the top three. Motohiko Isozaki with a lightning start. And Josef Schumacher with a good start as well. Let's take a look at it in replay here. So Manuel Agostina then pitching himself to the front, not alongside the Christian Herdvipper car at this point, and actually had to take to the gravel trap, making contact with the Christian Herdvipper car. Now, she seemed to get away from that okay, but then gets collected presumably by somebody else. Not absolutely. I don't know if you picked the bones out of that as to who made contact with her.
No, not quite. It looked like she, as you say, it looked like she got up the road then and then suffered another bump to the side, and there is the incident that sends John Dillon around. We also seem to have lost Thomas Loflat, who we haven't talked about. He is in the pit lane, so he managed to get out of the melee to a degree, but certainly suffered as a result of those start incidences. And yeah, that is Giorgio Sanaggiotto, and he, coach of Manuel Agostina, certainly...
He's redundant for the race.
Well, yeah, not the way...
You're right.
And Thomas Loflat, well, it's basically the emoji that he's giving us.
Yes, you're right. So, just look at this, Nico. In terms of overtakes, Josef Schumacher 10 and Motohiko Isozaki 8. Now, of course, much of that was brought about by virtue of the fact that they were just avoiding stricken cars. But nonetheless, I mean, for Motohiko Isozaki and also for Josef Schumacher to be running P1 and P2. Now, Motohiko Isozaki by right should be P1 within his class because that's where he qualified. But Josef Schumacher with a brilliant start. I just assume that Kirk Beervold had to take avoiding action at one point. Let's see it again. Do you know what? Having seen it from that camera angle, it could be 6 of one, half dozen the other. We're on board with Eric Chung here, who gets a heave-ho from Thomas Gostner. Here it comes, Bosch, and he gets pushed out wide, but he's able to recover from that. Now, I think, and there was Thomas Loflat, I think it is maybe Henrik Kamstrup that makes contact with Manuel Agostina. I think actually there was contact before then with Peter Christensen, to be fair.
Yeah, it looked like it, but it's very, I mean, it's very difficult in this moment because, especially after Manuela had this incident, she was much slower than the cars around, and so trying to identify where the gap would be once you reach a certain point is much more difficult. And unfortunately for her, that meant a very early end of the race. With the incident with Christian Herdvipper, difficult. I mean, she certainly spun him around. I think there is no question about that. How she came to be in that position and didn't manage to avoid the contact is a different question.
And this is the argument. And I have to say, having seen it from the angle that we saw just a moment ago, was she far enough alongside the Christian Herdvipper car to allow her the inside line, or did Christian turn across her? My gut feeling is she wasn't far enough. But, you know, the incident involving those two cars is going to be investigated after the race, and that's the right place to do that.
Yeah, because it doesn't affect neither race, unfortunately, because both of them are well and truly retired for this time around. So, well, we are where we are, and that means Axel Sardigan is leading the race. Thomas Gostner, Eric Chung, Isozaki, Schumacher, and Beervold, those are the top three in each of the categories. And that means we have 23 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, and hopefully we will be able to get the race underway fairly soon.
There's confirmation on your screen that that incident that involved Manuel Agostina and Christian Herdvipper in turn one, right at the start of the race, will be investigated after the race, of which Nico quite correctly says that 23¼ minutes of the race remaining. I don't think the safety car is going to be an elongated safety car, because I think it is just debris that has to be cleared up. So there it is in replay again. Now, I think the second half of the incident, which saw Manuela go around, you're right, Manuela is slow. So in fairness, let me take it back, because I think she was pushed into sideways long before Henrik Kamstrup and Peter Christensen even arrived on the scene, Nico.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she would have been slower, inevitably, and therefore vulnerable.
Of course, absolutely. So we will see. The facts are the race is done for Christian Hödvipa, Manuela Gostner, Thomas Loflad as well, and unfortunately also John Dillon has obviously recovered from his spin, and by virtue of the safety car, he has joined the back of the Crocodile, obviously lost all the positions that he had. Another of the drivers on the losing end of the change of positions, Alexander Nussbaumer, who went far backwards. He's P7 in class, but only P16 overall in the race. So he was one who had to take avoiding action because he was running right behind the first incident and had to just make sure to get out of there unscathed.
Fair point you make. So you've done the top three of both classes, Sardigan, Gostner, Chung, Isasaki, Schumacher, Beerwold. Now, there is a phrase in motor racing, and I'm almost disinclined to use it, and that is safety cars have a habit of duplicating still further safety cars, because of course all the cars will be bunched up once again. Now, they're not going to be side by side, thankfully. They will all be in single file order, but nonetheless it's going to be very busy once again at the start of the race with, perhaps may I say, those cars that now feel they're out of position through no fault of their own, equally determined to re-jostle themselves to where they feel they rightly should be. Therefore, when we get notification that the safety car is coming in, we'll advise you of that, and you might want to do your seatbelt up extra tight, because I think it will be action all the way to the checkered flag. However, no indication yet when the safety car is coming in. The lights are certainly still flashing on it, and no notification into our studio from race control either. So at this point, it's critical for the drivers to try and maintain some temperature into those tyres. Not that they really got up to operating temperature, because it was merely a lap, wasn't it, before the safety car was called for, really. So Wave Double Yellow's safety car is effectively parading the cars around, and the lights still shining bright on that 296 safety car from Richard Mille. And there we can see all the cars, the mix of Shell and Shell Am drivers, as I say, trying just to keep some temperature into the brakes and into the tyres, so that when we do go racing, they're in the best state of preparedness as is possible. Axel Sardigan, well, he didn't really have time to build a gap ahead of Thomas Gostner, because Thomas Gostner was involved in his own battle with Eric Chung, wasn't he? But he'll be hoping to do that once we do resume our racing. So lights still firmly on the safety car. Can only feel it's just debris that is being swept away. I don't think either car really made contact with any barriers that would have caused any barrier damage. So the man with the mop is out there at the moment trying to clean the track to best of his ability, as Axel Sardigan tries to bury the front of his 488 Challenge Evo into the back of the Richard Mille safety car. So determined is he to get back to racing once again.
Yeah, and obviously oh, and we have safety car in this lap, a service announcement. That means we will be ready. We're already in the final sector, and that means very little time to prepare for the drivers, because it's only about 20 seconds to the line from here.
Okay, they're going to concertina up. As you can see, already are concertinaing up, and this could be very, very pivotal in terms of how this race shapes up, with a late call to bring the safety car in. Axel Sardigan, Thomas Gostner, Eric Chung, Motohiko Isasaki, von Skeldemar all getting away as they head towards the timing line now, and the race is back on again. Kirk Beerwold trying to make up for lost time, and he's put himself alongside Corinna Gostner. Is he quite far enough ahead going into turn number one? Yes, I think he is. King of the late breakers there. And does he make his way? No, he doesn't. He has to yield. And actually, there's still some debris out there, Nico, I can see. And Peter Christensen actually wrong foots Kirk Beerwold and goes ahead of Kirk. So there you go. You can sometimes leave yourself vulnerable, can't you, when you're trying to do something? And, you know, you open a door and an opportunity. The order is Sardigan, Gostner, Chung. The top three in Shell for Shell Am. It's Isasaki, Schumacher, and Kirk Beerwold.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that overtake by Christensen over Bergwald was not a overtake within class, but obviously if Kirk Bergwald tries to move up the order in his class, that will certainly disadvantage him. And now we can see Corinna Gostner dropping down the order. You can just see her in the back of the shot, and she should come through here, but she lost pace, apparently.
I called it wrong. It wasn't Kirk Bergwald, it was Stefano Marazzi. Two identical yellow cars, and I picked the wrong one. So Kirk Bergwald had already put himself P3 in class. So well done to Kirk Bergwald, although Peter Christensen is still ahead of Kirk. So there's Peter Christensen just going through in the grey car. Kirk Bergwald is the first of the two yellow cars you can see there, sandwiching Paolo Scudieri, who's right in the middle of that mix. So Paolo Scudieri, who qualified really, really well, finds himself now P4 in class.
Absolutely, and Corinna Gostner, unfortunately, the second of the Gostner ladies here in this race, she is dropping down the order. So after the restart, there was something in her 488 challenge Evo which let go, and that means she's not competitive in terms of speed. And there is von Skeltema overtaking Motohiko Isozaki. Again, not an overtake in class, but certainly puts him into contention for the podium because he's running P4 overall and P4 in class, and Eric Chung is the next one in his target sights, and that obviously puts Josef Schumacher in an opportunity to put Motohiko and Isozaki under pressure.
And that is precisely what he is doing. So von Skeltema, as you quite rightly said, Motohiko Isozaki letting von Skeltema go because it wasn't an interclass battle. However, what it's done is it's meant the cushion that Motohiko Isozaki had between himself and Josef Schumacher has gone away now. And this will spell a great opportunity potentially to Motohiko Isozaki, or rather to Josef Schumacher, to try and overcome Motohiko Isozaki. So there is the Paolo Scudieri car, currently running P4 in Shell Am. Stefano Marazzi is behind Paolo Scudieri, and there you can see Kirk Bergwald in that all-yellow car. And here is von Skeltema, and von Skeltema with Eric Chung, and a bit of history between these two in previous races in the Ferrari Challenge, and just this season as well, Nico.
Yeah, definitely, but also lots of pace in the von Skeltema car. He just put in the fastest lap of the race on the previous time around, and he is gaining on Eric Chung visibly, and this is for P3, this is for a podium position. And now, von Skeltema, if he were to overtake Eric Chung, then it's Thomas Gostner. And talk about history. They've been racing in the same series for many, many years and have had their stories and coming together as well. And there is von Skeltema really trying to put the pressure on Eric Chung.
And Josef Schumacher almost taking a look at the inside of Motohiko Isozaki. Forgive me, almost cutting across you there. Two really good battles going on here, and Von's taking a look at the inside. Eric Chung was wise to it, though, and was able to carry a little bit more momentum. Fons is going to have another go, and of course Motohiko Isozaki is trying to hang on to the coattails of von Skeltema because it's drawing him away from Josef Schumacher. So brilliant stuff going on here. All of this plays nicely into the hands of Axel Sardigan and Thomas Gostner, who can just escape up the road to a degree. So you're absolutely right. Von Skeltema is demonstrably quicker than Eric Chung, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a yellow flag in turn one, and Kirk Bergwald has dropped down our timing screen. And I'm not sure if those two things are related, but there is an indication that that may be the case. Kirk Bergwald, who was running in a very good position in the AMS, certainly has dropped way down the order.
Nico, you're right.
Visual proof.
Now, where that car is situated, if Kirk cannot get that going again, what did I say about duplication and photocopying, Nico?
Yeah, Xerox is strong in this one. But in fairness, it looked like the race had gone on the well very smoothly, and it was only 2 laps in that we had this. And
how did Kirk end up there?
We'll see.
The Kessel Racing driver, who has been such a star in Ferrari Challenge this year, finds himself out of the race. You're absolutely right, Nico. You called that, and you spotted him dropping down the order, and well, that means the safety car is out again. So all the good work, once again, that Axel Sardigan had done means it's all undone again. And that also applies to Motohiko Isozaki, of course, leading in Shell Am. So as the Richard Mills safety car again picks all the drivers up, I would love to know what happened to Kirk Bergwald. Because all of a sudden, and well done to you, you picked up on it. He was dropping down the order. That occurred just as we'd got warning of a yellow flag in turn number 1, which was you did hope that the two things were not necessarily connected, but by Jiminy, they were.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure in the OB van, our guys in production will look through all the onboard cameras, all the possible angles to see if we get any shot of what exactly happened here. As we can see Corinna Gosner coming into pit lane. I think at least she had been in pit lane already previously, so
yeah,
not sure.
This looks like confirmed retirement to me, Nico.
Unfortunately, so not a good day for the Gosner family. Thomas, the only one standing, or driving rather, and he's doing very well in P2, but Corinna and Manuela, unfortunately, not gaining any points from this race. So, I mean, this shouldn't be a long safety car either, because obviously...
We've only got 12 minutes of the blooming race left, Nico.
Yeah, definitely, but the car was on the tarmac, and it certainly didn't look like it made any impact.
Well, Kirk is going again.
Yeah, well, there you go, and that hopefully means that we will have a race resumption fairly soon. The safety car, lights still on.
Well, there's no reason for that to stay out now, is there?
And indeed, there we've got the confirmation once again, a little bit earlier than last time around, but not too much. So again, the drivers will prepare for the restart in just a few moments' time, and it's 11 minutes or so remaining. So it is going to be a really sprint to the finish line. The Richard Mills safety car will peel off, and you can already see the gap to Axel Sartingen, who will control the pace of the restart.
Here we go then. I'll hold on to everything that might be loose-fitting about your person, because this is going to be really exciting as we get to get another complete race start, because the safety car will come in. There is Sartingen, there is Gosner, they're around the parabolic and now and onto the start-finish straight. Let's go racing for the second time of asking from a safety car. And look at von Skeltermar immediately on Eric Chung, and he puts himself right alongside the Eric Chung car. This is going to be for P3. Can he scrub the speed off, or will Eric Chung be able to come back at him here? They go side by side, and Eric Chung does get underneath the von Skeltermar car, and sure enough, he got the switch back there. And to be fair, Eric, using all his experience, he just knew that Fons was carrying too much speed, and there was no way he was going to be able to rotate that car through the turn, and he didn't, and he came back. Great driving from both drivers. Josef Schumacher really putting the pressure on Motohiko Isozaki now right at the start of this, because Josef Schumacher, well, as Motohiko Isozaki runs a little bit wide, you can sense the pressure. And Paolo Scudieri back up to P3 in class now. Here's Josef Schumacher, and of course Peter Christensen in a completely different class there in the grey car. He is a Shell driver, but he wants to dispose of these two Shell Am drivers ahead of him so that he can get into the fight with von Skeltermar and Eric Chung. And Josef Schumacher looking all over the back of the car of Motohiko Isozaki right now. This is the opportunity maybe for Josef Schumacher to really shine here today. We know how good Motohiko Isozaki is. Sartingen leading from Gosner and Chung. And then for the Shell Am drivers, it is Motohiko Isozaki and Josef Schumacher. And they are absolutely, well, they're not quite as close in that camera angle as they were previously. You could almost have welded those two cars together. Here comes von Skeltermar, here comes take two, potentially on Eric Chung, Nico, going into turn number one. Now, will Eric make that car a little bit wider, metaphorically stick his elbows out here? Well, Eric has defended that position. Here comes Josef Schumacher taking a look at the inside of Motohiko Isozaki, and that's a daredevil move there. And that is, well, Stefano Marazzi coming from a long way back, and that's Peter Christensen. And I'm sorry to say, Nico, you know what I'm going to say. Let you say it.
Safety cars have a tendency to sometimes reproduce, and reproduce they will in small, little, tiny, lovable, little plushy safety cars. And I'm afraid that's certainly in store. And I mean, Peter Christensen, I mean, Stefano Marazzi, that move wasn't on, and I'm sure he knows. And I mean, Peter Christensen absolutely innocent there, and nowhere he could get. And I think Stefano Marazzi, if he could at some point, could have just disappeared into thin air. He would have.
Yeah, but it was just impossible, wasn't
it?
Yeah. While we can see the disappointed Stefano Marazzi, I think Ludo is down there very quickly, I hope, with Corinna Gosner.
Yes, guys, I'm here with Corinna for discover more about the first part of this race of this morning.
Yeah, I'm very happy because today I did a wonderful start. I was from the last place, I get to the sixth, but my sister even also was outside, and that's why there was a safety car. And after the launch of the safety car, I tried to start, but suddenly the car didn't work. My gears didn't work. And so I got to the pit wall and tried to restart the car. But then I got in and I said, no, it's not working, so I have to go out again.
Verena, it's beautiful to see that you maintain your smile, and then the focus now is for the race for tomorrow.
Yeah, of course. I'm looking forward to the race of tomorrow because I love racing so much. So I'm very unhappy not to race today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you.
Back to you.
Thank you. Regrettably, as we were hearing that, we could see the retirement of this guy, Kirk Bervold, who, sadly is out of the race. And valuable points that Kirk Bervold really needs to cement his position have gone away.
Yeah, and somehow this race has turned into a race of attritions, which is not normal, but we've already lost 7 cars in this race. And yeah, I think the last incident certainly was the one that looked like the most avoidable, but let's look at some of the beautiful images in the Ferrari Challenge.
The final image there was of Carlo and Motohiko Izosaki, who were very happy with their qualifying performance. And at the moment, Motohiko Izosaki is leading in Shell Am. And there indeed is his car, number 105. And you can see the stricken Peter Christensen car. And I have to say, Nico, I'm really sorry for saying this. With just 5 minutes remaining, no recovery truck on the scene for the Peter Christensen car. I'm not absolutely convinced we're going to get another racing lap in, friend.
Well, I do hope so. There is another incident. There's the Paolo Scudieri car, Stefano Marazzi. I mean, just missing his braking point and then just being there, really. No chance to rotate the car, no chance to avoid, and Peter Christensen pretty much unsighted. And
there was nowhere he could go. He couldn't disappear into thin air, could he?
No, of course. And, well, I hope we will get some racing remaining, but it certainly, this incident cost us a little bit of the showdown that this race was heading for in the final stages. And
there is, forgive me, Daniele Diamato telling Axel Sardi to just keep cool. What more can you say to him? Axel leading the race, and I always feel that the one that is most disadvantaged by safety cars is the leading car, because of course he's tried to build up a gap, hasn't he? And all of a sudden the safety car nullifies any gap that he had built. In fairness, Axel hadn't had a chance to really put much space between himself and Thomas Kostner in any event. I also feel perhaps for von Skeltermar, that was shaping up to be quite a nice little battle, wasn't it? He actually overtook Eric Chung once even. But Eric Chung came back at him and got the switch back and did it very well. The safety car is coming in this lap. What the heck do I know?
Well, there we are, and there you go.
What do I know? But that car was still there, and there wasn't a recovery truck, Nico.
It was hiding very well, but that means once again we have a very, very short lead up, and you can see how everybody's bunched up. I mean, almost coming to a standstill. That means from 0 to full throttle. Axel Sartin really bunching everybody up, and now he's gone, and Thomas Kostner right behind.
Let's go back to racing again. Motohiko Isasaki's driver coach on the wall there, urging his driver on to keep ahead of Josef Schumacher, who can smell the sweet success potential here as von Skeltermar goes against Eric Chung. But once again, Eric Chung has got momentum. And von Skeltermar does now, I think, make his way past Eric Chung. I think there was a little bit of elbows out there, but he's gone through now. And guess who's in front of him? It's Thomas Gostner. And you were recalling the historic moments in Ferrari Challenge racing between Eric Chung and von Skeltema, and maybe one or two more between von Skeltema and Thomas Gostner.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember one scene actually in Portugal, in Portimao, between the two, which was very fierce and tough fighting. But we're 2 minutes 14 seconds away. That means this lap and one more probably. And von Skeltema is trying to get on the podium. Well, he is already on the podium. He's trying to get into P2. Eric Chung will try to get back onto the podium.
Yes.
Well, let's hope that we will not have another safety car, and this fight will be fair all the way to the finish line. Von Skeltema certainly, as you said, looked the most menacing, had the most speed. Did he maybe overdrive the tires? There was enough safety car for those to be salvaged.
You've read my mind completely. You know, the tire longevity has been somewhat helped by the amount of laps the safety car has done. So it is starting in from Gostner from Skeltema for the moment. Ahead of the AM drivers is Sasaki Schumacher and then Paolo Scudieri in a podium place at the moment. And Axel Sardigan stretching his legs now, and von Skeltema eyeing up the back end of the Thomas Gostner car. Now, a move into turn number one. I don't think he's quite close enough to be able to do it. Here comes Motohiko Izasaki on Eric Chung. Now, Motohiko Izasaki trying to put a cushion of a shell driver between himself and Josef Schumacher. Dives to the inside here. And has he managed to do it? Well, yes, he has, I think, and that means that no, he hasn't. So Eric Chung maintains his position. Now Josef Schumacher's going to come under pressure from Paolo Scudieri. Here comes Josef Schumacher on the inside of Motohiko Izasaki, and he picks up the lead of the Shell Am race. So Josef Schumacher is leading. Paolo Scudieri's gone through to pick up P2. Motohiko Izasaki, having led for so long in Shell Am, now finds himself P3 and potentially vulnerable to Henrik Kamstrup.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, he just almost went past Eric Chung, and he is paying dearly for that attempted move. Whatever it was, he lost 2 positions in the matter of just a few meters. And now here is von Skeltema trying Thomas Gostner, switch back, left, right, left, top, bottom, down, whatever, wherever he can find the space. He didn't find it there, and there is not much time remaining.
You're absolutely right. We are on the final lap. It has been dramatic, that's for sure. Axel Sardigan leading, and he's the only one that's really not being impacted or affected by anything that's going on here. Axel Sardigan then leading the race. Thomas Gostner is P2. And then it is von Skeltema. Then for the AM drivers, Josef Schumacher, Paolo Scudieri, Motohiko Izasaki. The 1, 2, 3. We are on the final lap. It is the Parabolica, the final turn. And a drag race now as von Skeltema tries like anything to get ahead of Thomas Gostner. He's not going to be able to do it as Sardigan wins from Gostner, from Skeltema. And for the AM drivers, it's Schumacher, Scudieri, Izasaki. And by my reckoning, that is Josef Schumacher's first win. You'll have to dive into the record books for me, but I think it is. You can see the celebrations down there in the Hertha Racing team, and Carlo with a slightly different look to the one we normally see on Carlo's face, because of course Motohiko Izasaki relegated to P3. And great opportunistic driving from Josef Schumacher and also Paolo Scudieri in the AM drivers. Oh my goodness me, there was some drama in that race. Well done, the Lueg Sportivo Hertha Racing driver Axel Sardigan, P1. Ahead of Thomas Gostner and von Skeltema. And then in the AM drivers, Josef Schumacher ahead of Paolo Scudieri and Motohiko Izasaki. I think it's Josef Schumacher's first win, but I could be wrong. I am most times.
StatPack is processing, and we'll bring you the answer to that in but a few moments. But if you were not entertained in this race, I don't know what we can bring you. I mean, fair play to the track personnel for recovering the car so quickly.
Oh, absolutely. I genuinely thought, oh, do some pickup if you could, Axel. Oh, look at this, Nico. Do you know what? Without these people wearing orange, those volunteers, those marshals who are trained to absolute perfection. Without them, we wouldn't be able to enjoy this sport. So a big, big thank you from Axel Sarding goes to all the marshals and from all of us as well, because without them, we wouldn't be racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you called it absolutely correctly as usual. Josef Schumacher gets his first win in the Ferrari Challenge, if we can trust our stat pack. And I think if you say it and the stat pack say it, that is spot on. Not the first win for Axel Sarding, but he'll take it just the same.
Absolutely, and he'll be just as brilliant. Here comes the result in full. What a race. I've lost my voice. Axel Sarding and Thomas Gostner and Fons Skelton are the top three for the Shell drivers. For the AM drivers, Josef Schumacher, Paolo Scudieri and Motohiko Izozaki. Look at that, Stephen Earle returning to the Ferrari Challenge, finishing P5 in class. Well done, Stephen, just ahead of Tommy Lindroth, who's in a real purple patch as well at the moment. What a race, what a race. You could not have thrown more at that if you had unbolted the kitchen sink and propelled it through the cupboard, Nico.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, this was really a race with highlights, some lowlights in terms of incidents that may or may not have been necessary, and as a result we lost quite a few of our drivers, unfortunately, who were not able to finish the race. But all in all, I don't think we had any chance of getting bored.
There's quite a list of drivers that are being invited by race control to attend a tea party in the steward's office after the race, I can tell you from my timing screen. I don't think it will be quite as cordial as a tea party, to be truthful, but here, confirmation of our Shell drivers that you will be seeing on the podium. Axel Sardingen, P1. Thomas Gostner, P2. Fons Skeltemar, P3. Great job being done by the marshals then, who are applauding all the drivers. And as Nico said, there were some lowlights, but there were many, many more highlights. One of which is Josef Schumacher on the top step of the podium, P1. Ahead of Paolo Scudieri, P2. And Motohiko Izozaki, P3. Here's the Joker. Out of the car then. Always entertaining, always good fun. Congratulated by his driver coach, Daniele Diamato, another young superstar driver, made his name in Ferrari Challenge. May I say, Nico, made his name in the Ferrari Challenge, racing with his father, Renata.
Yeah, definitely. And there is redemption for the Gostner clan. Manuela out, Corinna out.
Thomas.
P2, podium, and he held off the staunch attacks by Fons Skeltemar, who's, well, congratulated. He did drive a brilliant race,
yes,
I have to say. Yes, he did drive a brilliant race. And if there was anybody who was held back by the fact that there was very little in terms of ability to race freely, it was him.
Yes. So being congratulated by grandchildren is always a nice feeling, I expect. Not being a grandfather.
Are you implying, are you hurrying somebody on?
Probably not far away. And there you can see Fons being congratulated by the Kessel team. I'm not sure I've seen Cyril here this weekend, Fons' partner, but well done, Fons. And as you quite rightly said, Nico, he drove a heck of a race, didn't he? And he didn't. Oh, there is Cyril. She is there, making congratulations to Fons. Great job. Well done, and being also congratulated by Nicola Rossi, also another Kessel driver. Let's take a look at the pit show now as we try and recover from all the excitement.
Axel, congratulations for the win today and the result. Another pole, another win in this season. Always important for the championship standing. Today was a difficult race, full of accident and safety car, but you start from the pole and you arrived at the end of the race. So congratulations.
Yes, it was a tough race because 3 restarts is not normal, and every restart is a little dangerous. Somebody overtakes you, or you're too slow on the throttle, or everything can happen. Sorry for that many accidents. I didn't get anything what happened really. I had no contact to anybody. After this last restart, we had a lot of carbon parts in the last corner, so I had the fear that I get a puncture, but I could manage, and then I slowed down a little bit, not to stress the tires, and controlled with the mirrors what happens in my back. So it's an old track, so not easy to overtake. But if you're once in the lead and you can keep the pace, it's good. So important points for the championship, like you said. So hopefully I can make some more points tomorrow. And then we have Spa, and then we draw the line, and hopefully is my name under it. And but hopefully the restarts was a good show for TV, and they all had fun. And I try my best tomorrow. Thank you.
Axel, you are the first driver which win in Estoril for the first time for Ferrari. How do you feel?
Yes, it's great. It's first time here and win. I like this track. It's an old one. It's a little bit, the buildings are not that modern. I love the layout. It's very technical. It's not easy. It looks very easy, and it's very difficult. And to have a top time is good. Qualifying was pretty well. So hopefully I can go under 140 tomorrow. And yeah, you have to have a rhythm here, so it's good for Ferrari, good for me, good for challenge, everything. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Axel.
Welcome.
He's a great guy, he really is. Josef Schumacher wins in Ferrari Challenge Coppa. He will be very, very happy about that. Well done, Josef Schumacher. And we will be speaking to him in due course. I'm absolutely thrilled for him because, like everyone in the paddock of Ferrari Challenge, he is such a character. And we're going to hear from him now.
Josef, what a race today for you. You start from the 5th position in the grid of Coppa and you end for the first time in front of the other opponents. So can you tell us more about your feeling in this moment?
My feeling in this moment? Sorry, you cannot imagine. It's very nice. I have, this was a lot of experience in the race. We have a big crash, and I was happy. I'm happy. I'm very happy now with the first number place. For me, it's after 3 years, I'm very happy for this.
Thank you so much, Josef, and congratulations.
Thank you, also. Bye-bye.
Almost lost for words, Josef Schumacher. Here come the highlights. Race statistics then, with what a music there behind us. Powered by AWS. Well, top speeds from Coppa, it was Alexander Nussbaumer and Henrik Kamstrup. Identical speed through the speed trap, 275.4 kilometers per hour. Total overtakes in Coppa 17. In Coppa and we broke the record, 39. Best progress, Josef Schumacher, Nico up 11 places. So we're going to be heading up to the podium next. We have 2 podiums to come. One, of course, for our Coppa Shell drivers, and one also for our Coppa Shell AM drivers. They're always very well supported by everyone in the Ferrari Challenge paddock. They will be standing behind and below the podium. Michele Mambelli is the presenter who is charged with the responsibility of bringing the drivers out onto the podium. And here comes von Schuldemar to take his P3 place. Tried very hard to make it P2, wasn't to be in the end. Thomas Gostner goes for P2. Handshakes between the 2 of them, and on the top step of the podium, here comes Axel Sartingen. And Frank Herter will be there on behalf of Herter Racing to collect the Coppa Teams Award. And it is time then for the German national anthem. I think it was a slight false fade on the national anthem by our audio operator. Right, baseball caps back on, chaps. And Tony Wielander is here this weekend. I was having a conversation with him a little while ago. He's making the trophy presentation to, first of all, to von Schuldemar. What a great driver Tony Wielander is, and very much a Ferrari GT ambassador. Thomas Gostner receives his trophy, and then Axel Sartingen then will be in receipt of the race winners trophy presented by Tony Wielander. And stand by, Frank Herter will also add to the Herter Racing trophy cabinet, which is not small, I can tell you. And he receives the trophy as well, so trophies all kindly presented by Tony Wielander. Everyone onto the first step of the podium. That's going to be a bit of a squeeze. All the photographs then, and
okay, perfect.
Oh, hang on a minute. Thomas got nerfed off the podium, Nico. I mean, really. Track limits, gentlemen. Here are the top 3 then in Coppa Shell. For Kessel Racing, taking P3, it's von Schuldemar. P2 for CDP MP Racing and Thomas Gostner in Coppa Shell. And taking the race winners trophy for Lueg Sportivo Herter Racing. Well done, Axel Sartingen. So in terms of Drivers' Championship points, look at this. Axel Sartingen now on 115 points, and a non-finish from Manuel Agosta means no points gained today. So 65, von Schuldemar on 62. He's coming calling, you know, in Alexander Nussbaumer P4. Willem van der Vorm missing this weekend, P5. So too is Ernst Kirchmeier, P6. Those are the Drivers' Championship points. And across the top 7, no movements either up or down. And then the rest of the order that you can see there in terms of Drivers' Championship points for Coppa Shell. Number of USA drivers there by dint of their appearance, of course, at Le Mans. Here comes the Coppa Shell podium now as Motohiko Isasaki, who led so much of the race, makes his way to step 3 on the podium. Paolo Scudieri then onto the second step of the podium. Stefano Guy, his driver coach, applauds. And his first win in Ferrari Challenge. Well done to Josef Schumacher for Eberlein Automotive.
Eberlein Automotive brings the podium. Is Mr. Dirk Goritsen. And now we are ready for the national anthem.
This time it wasn't a false fade. The token part of the German national anthem played out then 2 times. We've heard it on the podium this afternoon. Once again, Tony Villander making the trophy presentations. First of all, to Motohiko Isozaki. Next up, Paolo Scudieri. What a season he's having. And then receiving his first Ferrari Challenge P1 trophy, Josef Schumacher.
The winner trophy for Team Heberlein Automobile, Mr. Dirk Göransson.
Heberlein and P1 taking his first win in Ferrari Challenge for Eberlein Automobile, Josef Schumacher. Here come the point situation then. Coppa Shell Am head to, of course, we do have a Trofeo Pirelli race to come. So from all of us here in the studio, thank you so much for watching, and please make sure you join us for the Trofeo Pirelli race, which is coming up next. And that's going to be, if it's even half as interesting as the Coppa Shell race, it's going to be a humdinger to watch. And but Nico and myself urge you to make sure that you are part of it. So from the Coppa Shell race, the mix of Shell and Shell Am drivers, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you join us, as I say, for the Trofeo Pirelli race. But for the moment, from Estoril, goodbye for now.